Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to Prime Hour on my Media Prime, the last for this week. Today is Friday. We this evening are going to be looking at the decision by the Minister of Secondary Education for girls who are pregnant to stay on schooling until they are given a leave for maternity. We're looking whether their decision is a good or a bad one. How is that going to help the girl child? Also looking at what should be done to teachers or other staff working with schools who are caught involved in this act of pregnancy for students. We also are going to be looking at the call or plea from bar owners to increase the prices of brewery products that are in their respective institutions. They wrote to the Minister of Commerce requesting an increment in their products, but the minister also responded to them saying that they were not going to increase prices of drinks. Was it necessary? How would Cameroonians take this desire by bar owners to increase the prices of beer? Are they not also not biased by not agreeing for them to increase prices of brewery products, knowing that other products in the markets have witnessed a price increase? We are discussing on these two topics with our panelists who are in the house already. Dr. John Ako is a lecturer with some universities across Cameroon. We're glad to have you, Doctor, this evening.
Mr. Leo, it is a pleasure once more again ending the week with you and being with you on this particular sensitive topic. Talking about the girl child, it's something which I believe every other person, a mature mind, would like to have, maybe drawing a lot of conclusion from traditional African society to what we call today the modernized or the modern African people. A right which others have had since the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Freedom or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. That particular part of it will talk of equality for all against all sex has never been respected, and Cameroon has been a member of both national, international, regional conventions that protect and strengthen the rights of a particular girl child. The Maputo Protocol 2000 gives that particular tacit right for female children to be educated at the same level. But remember, the internal laws of 1980 gave the right equally for school authorities to dismiss, and at times you see dismiss all, if the person responsible for that particular pregnancy was a male child. The two students are kept off campus. And several times we have seen families being victims. What becomes of a father that all the children are female and all ejected out of campus? It becomes a problem that such a family may live without an educated child. Educating a girl child, we generally accept that is building a nation. It contributes to the economic force of that nation with a lot of other social consequences. So maybe the debate that has long been fought of that international covenant against all forms of discrimination against women and the girl child is today becoming a reality. Cameroon have signed a lot of those conventions, but have never really implemented them. This is just a degree of implementation. I believe it is a step in the right direction if Cameroon need to receive and accept a lot of those rights and respect the conventions she has engaged into.
Okay. We also in the company of Ba Akwen Nadieh. She is the youth leader for the UPC party. Good evening, Nadieh, and your first reaction to this circular note that came from the Ministry of Secondary Education on the girl child.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. It's a pleasure having me on your beautiful platform. Good evening to my co-panelists. Good evening to all the millions of televiewers of this beautiful platform. Special greetings to my comrades in Ghana, my friend Sam Sulimana. He's in charge of the the budgeting or the accounting of the President of Ghana. I greet you from my media prime. Well, I'm looking at the note that is circulating that was released by the Minister of Secondary Education, Madam Nolinga, regarding the women, the girl child, to be admitted in school even if she is pregnant until she is due for giving birth. It's, to me, it's a good action from the minister, because we all know that, you know, women have been vulnerable, women have been treated differently for so many years, and if Cameroon right now is trying to meet up with the standards and the human rights declaration that were being declared universally and the respect of these laws, I think that it is a positive step to make sure that the girl child receives the same treatment like the female, like the male child, because we all know that when we educate a woman, we are educating the whole nation. And let me tell you, in some villages, like in my mother's village in the southwest region, when my grandfather was still the chief of Fue Bakundo, when a lady is being impregnated by a man, both the male and the female will be kept home so that they can, you know, they can have that equality. As we all spoke with, you know, equality, gender equality, I would like to be speaking about, you know, capacity equality, because when a girl child is being kept out of school because she's pregnant, it weakens her education. And secondly, some of these ladies will become school dropout, and some even will lose the taste of going to school. But if we give that girl child the possibility of going to school with her pregnancy without being stigmatized, without being rejected, without being prejudiced by all what we are seeing, I think that it is a positive step to bring out the girl's child, her ability, and the equality between men and women, so that together we can build a beautiful nation called Cameroon.
Okay. We also are in the company of Mme Ngo Bateki, representing the Cameroon Renaissance movement on this platform. Good evening, Madam, and welcome. And your first reaction to this decision.
Oui, bonsoir à tous nos nombreux téléspectateurs. La réaction première en tant que femme, c'est une réaction de joie, parce que à notre époque, beaucoup de femmes, beaucoup de jeunes filles ont raté leur éducation parce qu'il fallait, quand elles tombaient enceintes, il fallait laisser l'école pour s'occuper du bébé, ou bien on ne partait pas à l'école avec un gros ventre. Donc aujourd'hui, où on permet aux jeunes filles d'aller à l'école comme toutes les autres filles, les jeunes filles qui ont certaines, c'est des accidents, c'est-à-dire qu'elles ne s'attendaient pas à tomber enceintes. D'autres, parfois d'autres sont mariées, parce que moi, quand j'ai eu cette histoire, je me suis rappelée dans les années 86. 84, j'étais au collège Saint-Michel, où j'avais le plaisir de voir la grande sœur d'une amie qui était enceinte. Et à l'époque, c'était un peu difficile, mais quand même son fiancé s'était présenté à l'établissement et elle a pu fréquenter comme le reste des personnes. Elle portait le gris en bas et le blanc, donc elle portait la tenue de grossesse. Et elle a continué ses études. Aujourd'hui, c'est une grande femme. Ses enfants aussi ont grandi. Et d'autres filles n'ont pas eu cette chance. Parce que quand tu étais au lycée, sitôt qu'on savait que tu étais enceinte, tu étais automatiquement c'est-à-dire que sans procès, tu étais renvoyée. Il y a d'autres qui réussissaient peut-être à cacher la grossesse au début, mais après, tu étais exclue de l'établissement. C'est vrai, il y a ces tabous-là, parce que parfois certains interdits, quand on le dit, c'est pas pour faire du mal, mais c'est pour parfois limiter ce mal. Parce que les jeunes filles d'aujourd'hui, enfin d'aujourd'hui peut-être elles sont plus sages, hein, mais d'avant c'était un peu la tête en l'air, ce qui fait que le fait d'avoir peur d'être renvoyé à l'école pouvait te freiner dans tes élans. Aujourd'hui, autre chose qui est le bienvenu par rapport à cette déclaration, c'est le fait des avortements. C'est-à-dire que beaucoup de jeunes filles meurent d'avortement parce qu'elles ont peur d'arrêter leurs études, parce que quand elles tombent enceintes, elles savent qu'à l'établissement, on ne peut plus les accepter, donc elles préfèrent avorter. Après, c'est les décès, c'est des filles qui sont stériles plus tard, c'est des problèmes de ventre plus tard. Donc pour moi, ce décret vient vraiment à point nommé, mais on exhorte aussi aux jeunes filles que ce n'est pas parce qu'on a donné cette ouverture. Les jeunes filles doivent attendre le mariage pour faire ses enfants. Nous avons remarqué dehors les délinquants, les laissés pour compte, les bandits, quand tu pars bien vérifier, c'est des gens qui n'ont pas eu une famille, c'est-à-dire où il y avait le père et la mère, une famille intègre. C'est les gens qui ont eu, par exemple, les papas inconnus et tout, qui ont grandi avec un seul parent et ils deviennent des délinquants. Cette décision ne doit pas permettre aux jeunes filles aujourd'hui de croire qu'elles ont le droit de tomber enceinte quand elles veulent et comme elles veulent, mais de leur montrer quand même que si il y a un accident arrive, qu'elles n'aillent pas à l'avortement parce que les conséquences de l'avortement sont plus pires qu'accoucher, je peux dire communément, comme on appelait avant, accoucher un bâtard. Okay. Maintenant, il y a aussi le fait que à l'école aussi, parce que parfois c'était aussi un peu clinique, parce que quand une jeune fille tombe malade, les effets de la grossesse, les symptômes, faut cracher tout ce moment. Quand tu es dans la salle de classe, c'est un peu inconcevable, d'autres vomissent et tout. D'autres dorment, parfois tu peux aller à l'école, tu dors toute la journée. Parfois, c'était aussi ça qui faisait qu'on prenait certaines décisions par rapport aux jeunes filles. Mais j'exhorte vraiment à mes enfants qui sont à l'école primaire ou au collège d'éviter les grossesses avant le mariage.
We are also in the company of Ndifor Richard, who will be coming in through from the United States of America. Ndifor, good evening. How timely is this decision?
Good evening, Leonard, and it has always been a pleasure to be part of the program. Just like the other panelists, this is a welcome decision, and I'm sure you have seen my various comments about this, and to suggest that this is something that personally I've experienced while a teacher in Cameroon. I realized that most often students, female students who get pregnant are always being dismissed, and in most cases, the boys who get them pregnant are always allowed to stay back in school. This dismissal has always had significant consequences on the life of the students who are being dismissed. Sometimes people claim that they were just suspended for a year and that they were going to return. But what we realize is that when most of these students drop out of school with the intention that they want to stay for a year, have the child, and then get back to school, the reality is that many of them, when they drop out of school, they do not always get back to school. Why? Because in most cases, they always get involved in maybe early marriages. Sometimes you even find them getting involved in having even more children because the parents get very frustrated when the students are already sent out of school and they victimize the child. They refuse to send them again to school. And so that leaves the girl child with a life of frustration. And at the end of the day, she ends up remaining poor, and even her children remain poor as well. So these are some of the background around why the minister signed this decision that many people do not seem to look at, because a lot of people seem to just be looking at this thing from the surface of the document signed by the minister. People do not want to look at the background. What was the motivation behind this? And just like the other panelists mentioned, the government of Cameroon has ratified certain international protocols in which they pledge to respect the right of children to attend school without discrimination. Some of these international protocols include that of the African Charter on the welfare of the child. that one particularly specified that girl children, children with disability, and other children, especially girls with pregnancy, should not be discriminated against. We have all these laws and these protocols that the government had ratified. So it was just normal that the Minister of Secondary Education sent out this communique or this decision to reinforce these international laws that had been ratified by the government. So I want to also add to say that apart from just saying that students should be left or girls should be, who are pregnant should be left in school, I'm happy with the fact that the minister even went further to insist that school administrators and teachers ensure that these pregnant girls are given the support that they need. What we should understand is that, yes, they might have made some mistakes by falling into the trap of getting pregnant, but education is a right. Education is not a privilege where you will seize that privilege away from somebody because the person make a mistake of getting pregnant. And also, what we should try to understand is that these girls sometimes they don't get into the pregnancy by their own wish. Sometimes some of them are raped. We have cases where some of them are raped, some of them are coerced into the practice. And so all of these circumstances, people need to understand this rather than just quickly getting into the conclusion that female students who are pregnant should be kept out of school.
Okay, thank you, Ndifor. Richard. We have just also been joined by Prince Joel Mukage, who is in the studio with us. Prince Joel, certainly you've read through the minister's circular number 0222. Okay, 22. Yes, signed on the 22nd of April 2022. Now, many persons think that it was long overdue. Girls were discriminated upon. But how comfortable are these girls going to feel in their respective schools?
Thank you very much, Ms. Alio. Good evening to you, and good evening to my co-panelists, and to those who watch in my media, Prime Now, and most particularly Prime R. I will first of all say that the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nolinga, is a square peg in a square hole, given that she herself is an educationist, and she's been kept to head the ministry that has got to do with education. Now, coming to the communique or the letter that the minister wrote, I feel that it has been received. I'm speaking now as a journalist because I had to sample the opinion of several Cameroonians. It was received with mixed feelings. Mixed feelings because when you look at the communique that Minister Nolinga, first of all, there is this aspect that is what applauding, the aspect that the minister says that any teacher who is having anything to do with a student or impregnates a student should be severely sanctioned. It is what applauding because we have many students who have stepped out of school because they were impregnated by teachers. That should be applauded. And also the aspect that the minister says that male students should also be sanctioned if they are the ones who are responsible for the pregnancy is also applauded. Because, Ms. Alio, before now, when a girl becomes pregnant, you don't want to know who impregnated a girl. It is a girl who is sent home. So it's what applauding that the teacher is also sanctioned if at all is a teacher, and the student, if at all is a student, is also sanctioned. Now, when you look at the decision taken by the minister, Ms. Alio, the truth is, when you send a child to school, the objective is you want that child to bring certificates and non-pregnancy. Now, when a child goes to school and comes home with pregnancy, it's first of all a shock to you as a parent. A shock because you did not send that child to bring you pregnancy. You sent that child to either bring you GC ordinary level, advanced level, first degree master's, PhD, or you name the rest. Now, a child comes back and tells you the child is pregnant. First of all, you as a parent who sent that child to school is a shock to you that you cannot embrace. Now, when the minister says that children should stay in school when they are pregnant for 26 weeks approximately 7 months of pregnancy. Now, if a child stays in school for 7 months of pregnancy, psychologically, I'm not a teacher, thank God we have a teacher with us here, Dr. Ako. Now, psychologically, how do you teach a 7-month-old pregnant student? It's first of all a problem because even the student, their mates are not comfortable. Not comfortable to have a woman who is 7 months pregnant. Far from that, Mr. Leo, pregnancy comes with a lot of difficulties. At times, a pregnant woman will want to impose certain conditions under which she live around her environment. At times, a pregnant woman may feel that she should not be beaten. But the rules are that once you commit a crime as a student, you may not be beaten, but you should be sanctioned. But now, Mr. Leo, you agree with me that if a student who is pregnant up to 7 months, because the minister says 26 weeks. Now, a student who is pregnant up to 7 months, how do you sanction that student? You're not looking at the student, you're looking at two people. There is a student and there is a child inside of that student. Yes. And apart from that, Mr. Leo, pregnancy comes with a lot of inconveniences. This student at times need to get a lot of permission to go out. Going out, in and out, disturb his classes. Because the student needs to go and speed, the student needs to vomit, the student has a lot of things. And far from that, she may also need a kind of sitting position that will not be too convenient for the teacher. And that is where I feel that the minister did not actually look at some of these inconveniences. I'm saying so because, Mr. Leo, when you say that students who are pregnant should not be sent home, I believe that before now, these students were not dismissed. I went to a secondary school and I remember that in secondary school, students who became pregnant, I had mates who were pregnant, they were given a maternity leave. Even when the school was sending you home, the school will say that, okay, we are sending you to go home. Once you have succeeded to come out of the mother that you are, come back and study. Which to me was the best decision. The reason is, Mr. Liu, when you say that students who are pregnant should be kept in school, one, you're encouraging sexual intercourse within the school milieu. Which means that a student who would have been shy, a student who would have been afraid that if I get pregnant, I'll be dismissed, feels that, let's go ahead and have what we can have, because once I am pregnant, I will not be sent home. After all, my pregnancy needs to stay for 26 weeks, which is 7 months. And the minister even admits that, or even says in the letter, Mr. Leo, that once the student's pregnancy gets to 26 weeks, the student should be sent home to go and put to birth and come back. Indirectly, Minister Naluva Lyonga is telling Cameroonians that students should get pregnant. That is the message, because I actually, before this topic, Mr. Liu, when you called me to be part of the panel, I spoke with some parents. I gathered their views. Even parents are not too comfortable with the decision.
Okay. Let me take this contribution from Mr. Sanji Yvette from Pomenda. She says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Giving our girl children same privilege to continue school, even when pregnant, is good. It will also reduce the rate of risky abortions. But I have a worry. Not at a time like this that sexual activities has heightened between students, and we could hear strange things like students involving in group sex, acting or watching porn in class. Students who stayed away from sex for fear of pregnancy and dismissal from school will now be relaxed, knowing that being pregnant don't deprive one from continuing education. The atmosphere will become a relaxed one. A pregnant student will look at a pregnant teacher like they are age mates. Immorality, which is already at its peak, will worsen. The number of pregnancy registered each year will continue to increase, or sooner or later it will be difficult to differentiate a school from a maternity. Sitting on one bench with a pregnant student who is feeling nausea and spitting every now and then can be distracting. Undressing while other students are in uniforms, pregnant teens will be in a free wear. The list continues. Mr. Sanji Iveta from Boya, do you understand her worries, Dr. Ako?
I equally want to remind Cameroonians that before the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, before the liberty laws were stated in Cameroon in 1990, the fear of the CPDM party was that no other person should win elections in Cameroon except the CPDM party. The fear is that people will insult CPDM and CPDM would never arrive to maintain power, which means that sometime in 1992, when we decided to go for municipal or legislative election, I equally hear the head of state call members of his parties that time has come for change and we must embrace the change. So I want to tell for all those who have those worries, I call them, they are all cosmetics, old traditional beliefs which can still be managed within this present environment. Other nations have done so, they have succeeded. One of the things we need to know, which is positive, is encouraging the education of the girl child. And if we have to encourage the education of the girl child, you will tell me between us here that those female children, the moment you train them, training one girl child, bring the brightness of the nation, bring the brightness of the family, brightens and gladdens the hearts of those who are around her. Take within it, we can equally believe that one of those people, mostly and highly involved in domestic activities today, are the girl children. And most of them have not been to school. Should we equally accept that the positive nature of encouraging female children, those that were pregnant and sent off school and never had the opportunity of ever coming back because you declared them already boy or man and woman, already married, and a lot of them, now we see a lot of councils and municipalities offering free marriages. A lot of them have gone into marriages they were not prepared. This is what we call undefined or undignified marriages. It is time for education to enlighten the brain of so many female children, so too they can receive proper pay where they will work, so that they will be placed at the same level with more of the female. The fear has been that every time a girl child is educated, he distances himself away from getting married, because a lot of men fear that getting married to an educated lady might mean he will one day have the same strength like you, talk like you. What about that? I can imagine that the King of England, the Queen of England is a female and the husband still remains a man. I can imagine Angela Merkel was the chancellor of a great nation, Germany, but the husband still remains a husband. A lot of the positive nature in educating the girl child outweighs the traditional beliefs which are not even coded and that we can control, amend, and why not soften it out. It is a time for parents to raise their vigilance. Presently, we are talking about violence in school. If we come tomorrow to stop it, will you tell me that before? There was no violence, like the violence, so we should not fight it. Educating the girl child, I insist, it is brightening the future of the whole nation. A lot of positive impact are felt. We should equally believe that there was that old belief that the place of a female child is the kitchen. Is that still the position today? Compare within African family, a mother that had been to school, a father that had been to school, can you compare the sustenance of that home with one where that woman was not in school?
Okay.
So I'm telling you that the advantages of being in school for a female children, no matter the situation, let's undertake our obligations with international conventions and give Cameroon generally a bright future.
Good evening to the panelists and to you, Mr. Leo. Please get teachers to discuss education matters. Teachers are one of those who would hardly come here. You saw yesterday I had nurses, day before yesterday I had nurses for 2 days consecutively. The nurses were rushing. There were so many of them who wanted to come here. But anytime you call teachers to come to talk on TV, they're afraid. I don't know why. So you want me to get teachers? If you are a teacher, severally have said, indicate to me, and I'll get you guys. You say these measures are good. You are writing because you are a teacher and a guidance counselor. You say these measures are good to the point of criminalizing teachers. There are beautiful stories of teachers who marry their students. This type of communique will only open the doors of immorality, and it will heighten pregnancies among our girls. Let the minister focus on the school stabbings, which till today have no solution. Thanks. Okay, you are writing from Mr. Remy Pinga, writing that, but Ndifor Richard wanted to react to Mrs. Assange Yvette and what you just said.
I want to also react to
No. You want to react also? Let Ndifor come in, please.
Yes,
want to react, Mr.
Yeah, Leonard, it is interesting when I get the when I get statements that come from Mrs. Asanji and the journalists on the studio to the effect that allowing students who are pregnant in school is going to give the impression to students that it is all right for them to be engaged in sexual immorality. What I'm surprised is that they are not telling us that before this decision, sexual immorality was already rife in those institutions, in school institutions. Another thing too that they are failing to tell us is that these students who are pregnant, they don't live in a vacuum. They live in a society. And the other students with whom they meet in school, they also live in the same society. They live in the same neighborhood. They know themselves. Are they telling me that when they dismiss these students and they go back home, these students, they don't see them in the quarter, that because they see them, that they are pregnant, that will mean that, okay, I can go ahead and do the same thing? I don't understand the logic behind saying that somebody is uncomfortable seeing somebody who is pregnant sitting by him or by her. I don't understand the logic behind that. Well, what I want to say here is that all this argument about leaving a pregnant girl in school is going to encourage immorality or is going to increase the rate of immorality. These are all baseless claims. That's not based on any facts. They're just emotional outbursts that people are just trying to bring in justification to hang on this. This is not a Cameroonian situation, and the Minister of Secondary Education who signed this decision is not alone. You may want to go and do your research, and you will realize that across Africa, a lot of countries, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, all these countries, they are all turning this what we call discriminatory rules or laws against girls, children. They are turning it away. They're banning all these rules, and they're coming back to realize that it was not a good rule. It was not the best.
When somebody says that, Ndifor, yes. I want you to react to this and the others who are here, but I want to put this to you because you are a teacher. It says that mobilize all available human resources to provide psychosocial and psychological support to the students concerned. Are we saying here that the students is going now to be placed under a special status where special considerations are given to the students in the campus?
Well, it is very normal that in school, we are expected to pay particular attention to children with special needs. Children with special needs, they deserve to be given special attention and to be treated specially. Not only pregnant girls, because once the girl is pregnant, it means that that girl has a special need. So the
if you get pregnant in school and you are given special attention, is this not also a pointer for many other persons to get pregnant because they are going to receive special treatment?
No, what special attention? What special attention? When we talk of special
they
needs,
say mobilize, yeah.
Yes, what do we mean by special needs? Maybe we should be very clear here. Special needs does not mean that they should be giving them some special kind of treatment. Special needs simply means that they should be given the support to survive in that situation. For example, a student who is pregnant will always need to have time to take time off because maybe they have some complication, they are ill. They may need to be given time to stay back at home if they ask for it. If they ask for permission to go for a maternity, for prenatal care, they should be given that permission to do so. If these students need to be oriented, to be talked to, counseled by maybe the counselors in school. And I think this kind of attention is given to any child with special need. You are not telling me that a child who has a special need, maybe a child who is lame, because they give that child special attention, other children will go and break their leg because they want to have the same special attention. That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay,
these students did not deliberately put themselves into the principle to being pregnant.
Nadieh, do we understand that mobilize all available human resources to provide psychosocial and psychological support to students who are pregnant? it means that it's some sort of special status for them now.
No, not really special.
Well,
Maybe I don't know.
Well, Mr. Kum, when we read the African Charter on People's Rights and Human Rights, we talk about the Banjul Charter. You know, all of these laws were being implemented, and they all knew that these things are happening because before a law is being passed, okay, they all see the disadvantages and the advantages. That is why I will look this at in a law perspective, because before something is being passed, it's been put on a balance and it's been weighed. When we talk about these girl children given special status, they are being privileged, or it is going to cause distraction. I believe that even a lady who is already working in an office, a pregnant woman who is working in an office, she continues going to work. Pregnancy is not a disease, or it's not an illness that will cause a lot of trouble in an educative environment. So to me, I think that this law or this note that was passed by the minister should be applauded, because once we see girl children who are being sent out of school because they are pregnant, it causes a lot of problems in the lives of these children. It causes the anxiety, it kills the anxiety for the girl child to continue going to school. And besides, these women didn't get themselves pregnant, Mr. Kum. The girl child got pregnant by a man, but all the blames are being shifted to the girl. Because I listened to Prince Mukage telling us that no, she has some kind of special needs. A pregnant woman is not sick. I believe that in our homes, you've had a mother who is pregnant. She continues going to the farm. She continues cooking for her children. She continues going on her daily activities without being stopped. Why is it that a girl child who is pregnant in a school will be accorded some kind of things that she can, okay, she's going to cause a lot of troubles in school? I do not believe in that. I believe that the minister who signed this note is very respecting these things that was being passed a long time ago, because I believe that laws evolve with time. Like I listened to Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States. She was advocating for the right of women of abortion in the US. But if we look at in an African context, we are going to say that no, it's an abomination. But I believe that laws and decisions are taken with time. So I think that this law that was passed should be applauded and not rejected, because it's going to cause a lot of good. And when we say that it's going to open immorality in our schools, there have been a widespread of immorality in our schools. And today, this law will permit girls not to abort. It will permit girls not to go in for premature death, because when they abort, they die. But today, a girl child will know that if I'm pregnant, I can come to school, I can continue my education, nothing will stop my career. But if we continue stigmatizing these girls that are pregnant in schools, today you have a girl who died because she was hiding a pregnancy and she went for abortion. She was afraid of the stigma, she was afraid of the shame, she was afraid of the rejection. But because of this law, I believe that children and students will know that if I'm pregnant, I have not committed any crime. Okay, having a child is a blessing. Having a child is not a rejection. We should not reject these girls because they are just pregnant. We should allow them continue their education. We should not discriminate between the men and the women, because in our schools today you see teachers who have impregnated girls and they are being sent home. The teacher continues teaching. Why don't we judge this in a fair manner? We will see boy children who impregnated a woman and the girl has been sent home, but the boy continues going to school. The life of that girl has been stagnated, and the man continues his school. Meanwhile, when we educate a girl child, we are educating a whole nation, Mr. Kum. So I think and I believe that this law or this note should be applauded and be taken positively. Let us not believe that because a girl child has been given permission to go to school with pregnancy is going to cause a lot of problems in our schools. She won't do anything, Mr. Kum. If she wants to vomit, she goes and vomit. She's not creating a room of inconvenience for her mates. Because you see, you have colleagues who are journalists who are pregnant. They come to work, they carry out their duties without disturbing anybody. So I think that there is nothing wrong with that law.
There's nothing wrong with that law. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Most often, those students who are pregnant are sleeping in the class. So how effective is the learning process for these students? They are distractions to others. Eneke is writing from Kumba. Good evening, sirs. Courage for all of you, all you do. That is a good decision by MINISEC, but efforts should intensify on preventing pregnancy in young girls, because even though the school may not dismiss the student out of shame and other inconveniences may dismiss themselves. However, it is good decision to retain those pregnant ones who can brave it. Or Rita is writing from Bomenda. Mr. Leo, I am a teacher by profession. I'm Mr. Hans Do Bobga, writing from Yaoundé. I repeat, sex is meant for married people. Why should young unmarried people be involved in sexual activities? These are signs of the end time. School is school, not maternity. Let's forget about the nonsense from the white man called human rights. Let's choose between education and pregnancy. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Pregnant students should enroll at evening schools if they must continue studies during pregnancy. Adolf is writing from Ekombe. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's a good decision taken by the minister, but will the students avoid all these things regarding the fact that they know they can't be dismissed or suspended from school? Kizito is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the Prime R crew. I'm Emmanuel, a teacher from Douala. I agree with such a decree from the Minister of Secondary Education for the girl-child right to education, whether pregnant or not. Our collective challenge will be how to manage such situations, especially in the short term, and the ripple effects on the other students studying together. The behavioral changes too will be a call for concern due to their conditions, especially in the aspect of class control and discipline. Good day, Mr. Liu. I cannot access. Okay, no, what you're writing has nothing to do with this topic. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love your program. We need to create a school for pregnant women. It's the best thing to do. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Special greetings especially to Dr. Ako, who is really helping to educate Cameroonians on the truth and nothing but the truth. May God bless my media prime, its authorities, and all the panelists who are always making up time to take to educate us Cameroonians. Melinji, writing from the Upper Plateau. Mme Ngo Bateki, I'm sure you listen to some of the worries that are raised.
Yes, yes, je comprends un peu. Ça me fait sourire un peu. Et en tant que femme, ça me fait... C'est-à-dire, on a l'impression que ce qu'on craignait quand on était jeune, c'est que, oui, si je suis dans une même classe avec un garçon, je tombe enceinte, moi je rentre à la maison, je ne continue pas mes études. Pendant ce temps, le garçon, lui, il continue, il va plus loin, et quand il finit même ses études, je ne suis pas sûre qu'il va revenir m'épouser. J'ai l'impression que certains hommes restent toujours dans cette mentalité-là. C'est-à-dire que, oh, on s'est habitué que quand la femme tombe enceinte, elle sort. Premièrement. Deuxièmement, j'ai comme l'impression que les hommes monsieur qui a parlé tout à l'heure, il n'a pas une femme qui accouche à la maison. Ce ne sont pas toutes les femmes qui ont les crachats, les vomis, ainsi de suite. Ça, c'est des choses cliniques. C'est-à-dire que quand tu tombes enceinte à l'école et que tu présentes ces symptômes cliniques qui peuvent embêter les autres enfants, tu peux rester à la maison. La décision prise par Madame la ministre, qui est une femme et qui sait ce que c'est, c'était pour donner la chance à toutes celles qui sont tombées enceintes, parfois accidentellement, parfois d'autres sont même légalement mariées, de continuer leurs études. Ce n'était pas dans la forme de, comme on a parlé tout à l'heure, la sexualité à l'école. Avant que ce décret ne tombe, il y avait déjà, nous avons vu les films porno que les élèves nous ont présentés. Donc ça n'a aucun rapport avec ce décret. Moi, je salue ce décret. En même temps, maintenant, nous, parents, parce que je vous assure, même si surtout nous qui avons les enfants au secondaire, même si les enseignants font n'importe quoi, ils ne peuvent pas donner cette éducation à nos filles. C'est nous, les parents, qui devons éduquer nos filles chez nous, en leur disant, voilà une loi qui est sortie. La liberté ne veut pas dire libertinage. Il y a toujours des inconvénients. Parce que sachez une chose, la ministre a donné l'autorisation, mais c'est le parent qui tient l'enfant. Donc le parent peut décider que mon enfant qui est tombé enceinte ne rentre plus à l'école. Le parent est libre de le faire. Donc il ne faut pas toujours voir le négatif. L'enfant va sortir tout le temps pour cracher, ainsi de suite. Si l'enfant sort 1, 2, 3 fois, l'enseignant a le droit de dire à l'enfant, parce que l'enfant n'a pas comment je peux dire, une fille enceinte n'a pas d'autorisation spéciale pour nuire aux autres. L'enseignant a le droit de lui dire, va à l'hôpital pour arrêter ces crachats qui mettent mal à l'aise tes autres camarades et vice-versa. Donc, pour moi, pour la femme que je suis, pour avoir vu beaucoup de filles perdre leur éducation à cause d'une grossesse, moi je salue. Je salue vraiment cette décision en encourageant les filles de tomber enceintes quand elles sont en mariage. D'attendre le mariage pour tomber enceinte. Élève ou pas élève. Il y a les filles qui sont mariées officiellement dans leur foyer et qui fréquentent. C'est bien. Celles qui ne le sont pas encore, abstinence, abstinence. C'est pas parce que la loi est sortie qu'on va se dire maintenant qu'on est libre, qu'on peut se balader avec les gros ventres, que d'ici 6 mois, d'ici la rentrée prochaine, on va trouver les filles de 6 mois de grossesse à l'hôpital, à l'école et tout et tout. Et maintenant, pour pousser même plus loin, comme je le disais tout à l'heure quand j'étais élève au Collège Saint-Michel, l'élève ne venait pas seulement comme ça dire que je suis tombée enceinte, on doit me laisser. L'élève, il fallait que les parents soient là, que le fiancé soit là, pour qu'on sache que ça c'est une grossesse respectueuse. Ce n'est pas une grossesse de la honte, parce que, sachons-le, il y a les grossesses de la honte où ta fille qui est en classe de 5e viendra te dire qu'elle est enceinte. Tu ne sauras pas si c'est de son camarade de classe, ou bien c'est de celui qui est au fond de la classe, ou bien celui qui est devant la salle de classe, et tout et tout. Abstinence.
Ou le professeur.
Ou le professeur. Abstinence. Vraiment abstinence. Okay. Attendre le mariage et maintenant savoir que même si on est enceinte, on peut fréquenter.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's a good decision if she's married, not for unmarried girls. Why not the people agree to this decision to tell their girl child get pregnant while in school? Emmanuel is writing from Ngeme, that is in Limbe. Not to clear the message. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's the best thing for me because the man has been involved. Mary is writing from Balmayo. Greetings, Mr. Liu. My name is Afanui Samuel. Pregnant students should not be allowed in school. Poor parents will suffer the effects of their children who are supposed to be the breadwinners to their families after selling everything to send her to school in case where the boy responsible is not able and the family is not ready to support. Thanks. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I like your program. I think pregnant students should be sent to continue lessons in the evening school without paying an extra fee. Okay. Yeah. Everybody reasons their way. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I just hope these people saying it's good for the pregnant girls not to be sent home will still be here to defend it when others will take in as an advantage. People should stop encouraging immorality. Irene is writing from Muyuka. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I prefer the Minister of Education should open a school for pregnant students because the students are sent to school to go and study and not the other way around. I am Azor Simon writing from Mutengene. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's a good decision not to keep the students' girl out of school, but I fear this will make many of our students promiscuous and produce many school dropouts. Mr. Liu, note that the fear of dismissal makes many children, girls, abstain from sex and thereby focus on their education. Snazi is writing from New Bell, Bermuda. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all the great panelists. Evening. I really like the minister's decision, even though it is having about 80% negative side. Julius is writing from Pomenda, Julius Yongamat. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think it will be difficult to handle a pregnant student. The inconvenience in pregnancy is too much. Imagine a teacher in class with a pregnant lady, which she will be sleeping, vomiting, wanting to ease herself every time. With all the hormonal changes, I doubt if the teachers are ready for the drama. Janine is writing from Douala. Good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. I think that in as much as allowing pregnant students to go to school has negative repercussions, I believe it's a good decision. But the lone thing we need to do is continuous education of the students on the negative effects of going to school while pregnant. Be overemphasized. Their special status is accompanied with punishment, which is regulated. E.g., in pregnancy, you may need to still clean, do some manual labor, etc. Pasi for real, writing from Bingo in Bamenda. To me, this law would have been only on those who are married. Laura is writing from Boya. Yes, many persons, you really said it in the beginning, so many mixed feelings that many persons accept it, but are very wary of some of the
repercussions.
Yes.
Mr. Liu, it's, I think that there is something we need to, I need to make clear here that I'm not against female education. Nobody is saying, because when I listen to the females on the panel and Mr. Ndifor Richard, the impression I have is the girl child before now has been relegated so far as education is concerned, and the minister's decision is that which comes to like boost the girl child. No. You know, Mr. Kum Leonard, there are two things in life. It is either you choose education or not. A lady who is in school and is not married, and even if you were married, because pregnancy many a time is, it's an agreement between the man and the woman. It means that you decide when you want to impregnate your wife. You tell your wife, okay, I think that only we've had a son already. Let us stay for 2-3 years. We can have another child. Or let us have a child maybe in December, not in February. That is for ladies who are married. But now, Mr. Liu, the decision by the minister, like I said before now, it's a good decision. That girls who are pregnant should not be sent home is a good decision. But now, at what context? We are living in a country where a lot of moral decadence is taking place. Now, what becomes of a child in Form 2? I'm saying so because I remember I used to have a secondary school madam who would tell girls who were on their normal menstrual period that you are not sick, because the girls used to come and say, s'il vous plaît, madame, je suis malade, je vais rentrer à la maison. And madame would say, but what's wrong with you? The lady would say, I'm menstruating. Madame now told them it's not an illness. Now, if a girl feels that a menstrual period is an illness, what about pregnancy? And the text, like you read to Mr. Ndifor Ferdinand, was that they should mobilize. You know, English is not, you don't play with English. When somebody tells you, I am hungry, and another person says, I am very hungry, they are two different people. A hungry man and somebody who is very hungry. The minister insists that resources should be mobilized to give particular attention to pregnant ladies. When you say so, Mr. Leonard, I've had a student who was in Form 2 who listened to one of these churches that come up every day, and the man comes to tell them that very soon the world will come to an end, and the guy goes to tell the lady that, you heard what the preacher was saying, that the world will come to an end. So let us enjoy ourselves before we die tomorrow. Now, when you tell students that get pregnant and don't be afraid you will be dismissed, because that is what the minister is saying. The minister's decision is, or rather the minister's communique is that which she is saying that pregnant students should be allowed in school. It's a laudable initiative. It's a laudable decision. But now, under which circumstances? We are living in a society where most of the girls, Mr. Liu, most of the ladies who go to school today, you look at them, they're already of ages that a majority already mature. Now, you're indirectly telling the girl that, okay, feel free. Even if you get pregnant, the teacher cannot hold you responsible for that. And more to that, the teacher will not dismiss you. And worse still, the decision condemns the teacher than the student. Because in the decision, the minister says, severe sanctions will be meted on any teacher who is responsible. But if the minister said, like somebody who has written, and many of those who have written that, okay, if pregnant students, if you are married and you are pregnant, it's different. Mr. Liu, we have evening schools. most schools we have in Cameroon are operating evening schools. And we should not be encouraging. Because I'm saying so, I've done a vox pop. I'm saying so, I've listened to what the younger girls they have as mindset. When a child who is in Form 1, in CZM, listen to this communique. We are talking about abortion, that before now children used to get aborted or abortion, some died. Mr. Leo, gone are those days when children were 18 years were in Form 1. Today, 19-year-old children are in the university. Today, children who are 13 years are in lower seat. Some are even in upper seat. Which means that a child who is duty conscious and education conscious, pregnancy is not even an option. Assuming the pregnancy even comes up, then the child should start thinking of alternatives. The alternatives should be going to an evening school. Why? Because an evening school gives you the same syllables, prepares you for the same GCE, prepares you for the same HND, and why not? Other exams. So I feel that we are looking at this decision, but to an extent, we are not looking at the repercussion.
Okay.
By this time, maybe next year, Mr. Leo, we should rather be looking at the number of increased pregnancies in our schools, and a pregnant student who knows that the minister has said I should be given some preferential treatment. If students come late to school and say it's because they had menstruation, what about pregnancy? If a student is pregnant, you dare not punish a student. If a student is pregnant and does not do your assignment, the student may say, it is the baby that has disturbed me the whole night. So the minister's decision is laudable, but the repercussion, at times, like somebody wrote there that, who said he is a teacher, when you look at the consequences of that decision, I think that the consequences of the decision are 70%. And the other one, which is this girl child going to school. Any child who wants education will not think about sex.
Okay, any child who wants education will not think about sex. How about this fifth point that says take appropriate disciplinary measures against any teacher or other staff responsible for the student's pregnancy? Many teachers have not also let our sisters study in peace.
Yeah, Mr.
Is this enough to deter teachers from impregnating their students?
I believe it was one of the worries I had while I read through the decision of the minister. What the minister too has not maybe realized, or studies have not indicated, is that a lot of teachers have ended up getting married to their students. And we should equally know that very few people will tell you it's a local African saying that a goat never eats far from where it is tied. And these are processes of getting, how can I call, getting married. If we go statistically and find out right at the schools of training, I mean, if you are in ENS, you are in insect, wheresoever, teachers have ended up from the same insect coming out with their partners. So how will you refer to that? We have a great worry that education, sexual education, maybe should be taught in schools. And if we are bringing up such a decision, we should try to know that we are training future Cameroonians, leaders, and on the part of it, teachers should equally be given that particular standard of morality. Where now do you think teachers will pick their own wives from? That a teacher who spend 500 hours a year in classroom will need special time to stay at the bar in Daido to wait for his own wife? Or that somebody who has nothing to do with the market will be preparing to stand at the gate of Marché Mbopi to look for his own girl when the campus where he is a ready ocean for him to fish out and bring out what he needs. What the people don't even know is that a lot of teachers have the very best of their students as wives. And if we get to that, you will know that they know who is the best of these students.
So what are you saying?
So it will mean you are cutting off teachers from a right which they are equally supposed to enjoy. If this is the case, you will mean equally.
Secondary school?
I don't know what secondary school you are talking of. There are girls in secondary school who are married. You have had SDOs and DOs and magistrates whose girls' friends are coming from the same secondary school. And nobody has a problem with it. Imagine a magistrate coming to have a girl in the school where a teacher has been deprived from having a girl from the school. This is equally maybe another new right. While we're trying not to discriminate against women, we are now creating discrimination against adulthood. And I think there is a need for a second look. I spend more than, in fact, in a week, in a month, my life is the school campus. So I need to take special assignment to sit in a bar to wait my own girl at the entrance. I'm just thinking that those who made the law, there were proposals made by those who empower the rights of a woman. And luckily, this decision is coming when the woman is at the helm of the Ministry of Secondary Education. At the Ministry of Secondary Education, let's forget about those who are underage. There are equally mature women in secondary schools. And that we should not deny that. I believe it would have been a counseling opinion that having such a relationship with a child that is not of a particular level or age should be criminal offense. I believe it would have gone somewhere again to control the conduct at some level. But including everything together will create a meaning while we are trying to receive a girl child on a platter of gold, it might result to a lot of other social consequences. Meaning, a girl child has no right again to even stand with the teacher. And you know what the classmate will tell them? I don't want to see with Mr. This, because the law has already forbidden us for you girls having anything to do with Mr. This. So the student will be available among the classmates, but they will not respond to senior or teachers or staff within the campus. Yes, some people within school campus too are said to be very promiscuous. This is not what we are saying that should be done. Yes, I got married to my student. So what becomes of that? My wife is my ex-student. What should I do about that? So the minister should incriminate me for getting married to my student? I cannot be defending what is not done.
Okay.
Because we have the best, we teach the best. I cannot be serving the governor the best and I'm taking waste from Mashe Congo. It is not done like that.
Okay.
So we need to eat the best from the pot which we have cooked. And I believe the minister will look at that secondly.
Good evening. This is Pius from Bamenda talking about punishing a teacher or male student because of pregnancy. What about female teachers? Okay. Yes, female teachers, what do they do? Good evening to you guys in the studio. I'm called Boyka from Suza. I hereby stand against the fact that pregnant women should not be allowed in school because it's going to ruin down the school's reputation. Parents will be aware of the fact that they don't teach students about social life. It will cause other students to be pregnant too, because it will be clear that there is no dismissal. Good evening to you. Boyka from Suza. Good evening, Mr. Liu. My name is Shu Campbell from Douala. Allowing pregnant students in school, to me, is not a good thing. The minister should even think of it because well-trained children will become loose because of the freedom of pregnancy. Pregnant students will be a burden to teachers, especially when the child starts reacting in the stomach. Our economy will finally crash to zero financially and economically because giving birth to children is a call for concern. In the agriculture and finance, I say no to pregnant students in school. Okay. Fombi Michael Viga from Bamenda says, greetings to the panelists. The female students should be careful because some of their peers will stigmatize them and cause them more harm than good. We need religious studies in our schools. Ndifor Richard, you are a teacher. You listen to what another teacher said out here that in Pidgin they say go the chop for play with the tie. Is that the impression you also have?
No, I do not think. I do not agree with him. That I do not agree. As a matter of fact, as teachers, we are like authority over the students that we teach. The students in school, like many people mentioned when we're talking about girls getting pregnant, they're in schools for studies. They're not in schools to get married. They are not in schools to look for a husband. Neither is the teacher is in school to do his job. He's not in school to look for a wife from the students he teaches. They are colleagues. Teachers have colleagues in school. You have younger colleagues that you could always approach. And if you want to get married to any of them, that's fine. Or if you want to have any romantic relationship with them, that's fine. But to suggest that you have a romantic relationship with students, that is totally unacceptable. First of all, because you are seen as an authority. And the tendency is that sometimes the students may, against his will or against her will, accept to subscribe to your proposal, not because she really likes it, but because she is frightened as to what happens to her if she does not do so. And so that may severely affect her emotionally and mentally. So that is not accepted in no circumstance. It is okay if after the students graduate from your school and maybe she is now at the university or she's working, you can go after her at that time, that's fine. But to suggest that while in school, you start having a relationship, a romantic relationship with her, I don't think that is morally acceptable. Again, I just want to come back to this idea of arguing that female students who are pregnant should be kept out of school. You see, my friend in the studio, the journalist, tried to present a situation that there are evening schools, and he painted the evening school to look very much normal as a regular school. And so if you think that the evening school is as normal as the regular school, it means they have other students who are there too. And why do you think that it is okay for pregnant girls to be in that kind of setting or be in that school, and you think that they cannot be in the other school? In your interpretation, the students in that school do not deserve to be morally upright, because according to you, they are immoral people who are there, selected and kept in that school, and therefore they should get the pregnant girl to meet them in that kind of a situation. So that's the problem with the argument we are putting, that girls' children should be kept out of school. Even in school, it's just as normal as it's just another school, like an ordinary school. But at the same time, you cannot deprive that girl child from her choice of going to the school for which she wants to go to, and you want to impose an evening school on her because you think that she is pregnant. Again, let me re-emphasize this. Education is a right. It is not a privilege. There is no way you will have to punish a girl child simply because the child is pregnant, and you want to punish that child. And one thing, there is no relationship. We have not been able to establish any relationship that if a child is kept in school, it will increase the rate of pregnancy. Leonard, if you permit me, let me just say that a research was recently conducted across 9 different countries where they introduced this ban on dismissing girls who are pregnant. And the results were amazing. The results show that after 2 years of the implementation of the policy, the rate of pregnancy across these 9 countries dropped by about 1.2%. So this argument about the fact that leaving girl children in school will lead to more girls getting pregnant, will lead to encourage immorality is completely baseless, and it's not backed by any evidence.
Good evening, sir. I think it's not a good idea for pregnant girl child to remain in school. What I'm afraid is that there come a time when the minister will release another communique that maternities should be built in all the schools, so Cameroon will be at the first position of pregnant students in Africa. Blessing, writing from Temba in Bomenda. No, God forbid, that is not what is going to happen in Cameroon. Mr. Liu, greetings from this end. The minister has suicided in destroying the future of youth in Cameroon. Jude is writing from Tatum. Daisy from Kumba says, good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. It's not a good idea to leave pregnant students in school. I think this will cause many more unwanted pregnancies among students and the youth. Good evening to you, Daisy. Prime R, I think the minister is simply reiterating an old decision of long time, maybe since 1980. In many schools today, school children with pregnancy have still been going to school by FN. Good evening, Mr. Liu. If the female teachers pregnant are allowed to teach, then the female students should be allowed to study. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The boy student or teacher who impregnates a girl should also be sent home while the pregnant lady is maintained in school. Francis is writing from Mwa. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The topic is very good and serious. It's only that let the order of the minister be effective, because today they put laws and tomorrow it does not work. Emmanuel Bu writing from Ngeme. Good evening, my able man, Mr. Liu and Leonard panelists. The minister's decision comes with mixed feelings. It may be good though, but I am afraid most parents and pregnant students themselves may withdraw out of shame and the stigma of staying in class with a long tummy, which is a proof that she has been having sex forbidden by parents and the school authority. 40 is writing from Bamenda. Are you also very comfortable, at least you are a lady, that teachers who are caught in this act should be severely dealt with?
Yes, Mr. Kum, you read messages and a lot of Cameroonians are reacting negatively to this decision. But I believe that these girls didn't get themselves pregnant. Okay, they were impregnated by a man. And most of the time we have teachers who impregnate their students. Why is it that the child will be sent back home and the teacher continues teaching? To me, I believe that if the law is not supposed to be applied, both parties should face the prejudice. Both parties should be sent home. Because I believe in our arcade, like I said, my grandfather, who was a chief of Fue Bakundu, in his community, when a girl is being impregnated by a man, both children are being kept out of school, because you cannot deprive a girl from not continuing her education. Meanwhile, the boy child continues going to school and the teacher continues teaching and nothing is wrong. You know, I have this feeling that Cameroonians don't want to respect some kind of international conventions, because most of the time when you go on TV platforms and you meet with people, they will tell you that Cameroon does not respect human rights, Now that the minister wants the human right to be respected, because this is an international law, they want to respect it. Now we are saying it's not good. I don't know what Cameroonians want at the end of the day, because this law is applied everywhere in Africa and Cameroon signed, and we are a party to this. Today the minister wants to implement this law to be applicated in our schools. Cameroonians are saying no, we don't want, because they are looking at their own way. They are looking the decision in their own way. To me, I think that is a good decision. These girls need to continue going to school. If they are creating some kind of inconveniences to the other students, I think that they can be sent home. And besides, Mr. Kum, if I am pregnant, I'm coming to school and I feel that I don't want to continue school because it's creating some kind of disorder, I stay home. But it shouldn't be a teacher sending me home, or there's some kind of stigma in the environment, because a pregnant woman is not a sick person. Our mothers have been continuing their duties at home. We have people that are working, they continue going to doing their vacating on their duties, but they are not putting anybody in some kind of an inconvenient position.
Now in school, how you studied where pregnant girls go to school?
Yes, Mr. Kum.
How did the school see the person?
Yes, that's the stigma. I talk about the stigma.
Yes, but how do you work on that stigma?
Well, I think that when we read the note, the minister said they should, we should rally all, we should mobilize all the resources to make sure that these girls are not stigmatized, these girls are not being ill-treated. All these things, it's not like a special status, because when a girl child is pregnant, some friends will be mocking at her and the shame can cause her to go back home. When a girl child is pregnant, the teacher can be treating her just anyhow. I think that that's what the minister means, not like, giving some kind of special status. She should be treated like the other students. She shouldn't be maltreated or stigmatized or insulted or avoided, because at some point, Mr. Kum, like I said, a pregnant woman is not sick. When we talk about manual labor, it's like cleaning, dry cleaning, doing some kind of jobs in their homes. Our mothers, they continue doing their duties. Our mothers, they go to the farm. Yeah. So I don't think that pregnancy is a disease. She meant that in our schools, they shouldn't be discriminated, because you go to some schools, when a girl is pregnant, she'll be sitting behind at the back bench alone, being stigmatized. Other people are avoiding her and the teachers are just insulting her, throwing some kind of words at her, insulting her, and this doesn't create some kind of favorable environment for her to study.
So how do you work against that?
I think that, like the minister said, anybody or any teacher who causes some kind of prejudice to a student who is pregnant should be sanctioned.
No. The minister says the teacher who impregnates.
Yes, the teacher who impregnates should be sanctioned, going home.
Yeah, but do you understand the worry of Dr. Ako?
Yeah, Dr. Ako was talking about, that's his own personal view, because he said that if you are teaching, you should be allowed to fish from the fishes in the oceans and have your own wife. I don't believe in that, because a school is an environment where we go to acquire knowledge. It's an environment where teachers go to transmit. But in the course of our transmission and the receiving of knowledge, something can happen. I think still is not a taboo, because I've had students who got married to their teachers. My auntie got married to her teacher in Form 5, and they got married happily, and she continued going to school. To me, it's not a taboo, but it shouldn't be emphasized, or it shouldn't be applauded in our school environments. So that's what I think.
May I ask the teacher, so you are encouraging underage to get married as students in school to study, to marry? Oui, vous avez suivi ce qu'il a dit?
Oui, j'aimerais lui poser une question. Est-ce a continué ses études après votre mariage? Soyez honnête.
Oh oui.
Dites la vérité.
J'ai dit la vérité. Moi-même, j'ai financé ses études.
Bon, voilà.
Il a eu le niveau master en droit.
Voilà, c'est un cas sur 100. Si je vous dis, la ministre qui a pris cette décision l'a prise en tant que femme. Elle a uniquement regardé le bien-être de la jeune fille et de la femme. Nous avons les enseignants véreux, certains qui ont même les épouses à la maison, mais qui viennent détruire les enfants à l'école. Nous avons les enseignants qui, effectivement, quand ils te trompent, ils te disent même, comme vous avez dit, vous avez payé les études, d'autres te le disent, mais ne le font pas. Donc moi, je me dis, c'est sur cette base que la ministre qui a été élève, qui a été étudiante, qui a vu comment ça s'est passé autour d'elle, peut-être dans sa vie même, a voulu mettre la jeune fille à l'abri. Nous savons, parce que même quand nous conseillons les jeunes filles, moi j'ai 2 filles et 3 garçons. Quand mon fils vient avec sa copine à la maison, je dis à sa copine, moi je ne vous interdis pas, hein, mais c'est toi qui vas perdre. Parce que quand tu vas tomber enceinte, tu vas laisser tes études. Lui, il va continuer. Et maintenant, quand lui, il continue, tu n'es pas sûr qu'il va encore rentrer en arrière, chercher une fille de 5e. Parce que toi, tu serais resté à la maison avec tout ce que ça comporte. Tu n'auras pas l'éducation qu'il aura eu pour un étudiant et tout et tout. Aujourd'hui, c'est ça que Madame la ministre veut abolir. Et si je pars écouter les messages de Léonard, 90 messages émanent des hommes.
Non,
90
messages. La plupart
oui,
sont des femmes.
Oui, mais ça émane surtout. Parce que moi, je dis, c'est pas bien que tu aies une jeune fille enceinte. Je continue à dire aux jeunes filles, l'abstinence, l'abstinence. Quand tu n'es pas encore mariée. Cette loi concerne un peu plus les filles matures, les filles qui peuvent aller en mariage, les filles qui sont responsables, mais pas les enfants. Et quand on dit par exemple les enfants, c'est les enfants que parfois aussi les enseignants déroutent. Les enfants qui sont un peu, les filles qui sont un peu naïves, qui vont vers les jeunes enseignants parce qu'ils sont jeunes, ils sont fringants. Après, ces jeunes les détournent et c'est de ça que parle la ministre, Madame la ministre. C'est pas pour les gens responsables, pour les gens qui savent ce qu'ils cherchent. Les jeunes filles, nous les parents, nous les mamans, notre devoir, c'est de causer avec nos filles. Cette loi ne veut pas dire aller chercher les grossesses. Parce que même avec les grossesses, comme le disent les autres, effectivement, chaque enfant vient avec ses conséquences, ses envies. Tu peux avoir un enfant où tu es en train de cracher tous les jours. D'autres, moi j'ai eu une grossesse pendant 7 mois. Personne n'a su que j'étais enceinte. 7 mois. Et 9 mois, je n'ai pas dérangé et c'était la première grossesse. Donc, ce qu'on dit crachat, sommeil, c'est pas, c'est-à-dire que ce n'est pas pour tout le monde. Il y a ceux qui sont enceintes et qui sont normales. La preuve en est, vous avez parlé tout à l'heure de vos parents qui allaient au champ. Les dames qui tombent enceintes et qui sont dans les entreprises, je crois qu'elles travaillent normalement, elles ont le même rendement, à moins qu'il y ait une maladie qui s'ajoute à la grossesse. Et cette maladie peut arriver même quand tu n'es pas enceinte.
Okay.
Donc la grossesse n'est pas seulement qu'on dise que oh, il faudra qu'elle crache tout le temps, il faut qu'elle mate la salle de classe mal à l'aise, et que même les enseignants, même les élèves, mais moi, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, pour éviter les railleries, pour éviter le mépris, si tu as ton alliance à la main et que tu pars à l'école avec ton alliance à la main, au contraire, tu auras du respect. On saura que voilà une femme qui a accepté d'être maman, étant l'épouse de quelqu'un.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Liu. In as much as I don't encourage secondary school students to get pregnant since it will disrupt their focus on education, I also think it is wrong to send away pregnant girls away from school. How does that help the situation? What they need at that point is psychosocial support to help them successfully sail through the situation while succeeding in academics at the same time. Edwin is writing from Florida. Michael writing from Boya says, good evening to everyone at the panel. This is Michael writing. Let's take the example of Tanzania. If a female student gets pregnant for another male student, the both students should be suspended. Your parents cannot borrow money to further your studies and you get pregnant. Michael writing from Boya, Mr. Liu, do you know some students are unable to pay their school fees and yet they are pregnant? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Bernadette Sella, writing from Tico. I stand on the point that the girl should stop school till after delivery, while the boy, if it is the case of the student, should be locked in prison for a year. Abstinence should be our watchword. Okay? Bernadette is a lady here. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Inasmuch as the decision taken by the minister is good, parents also need to intensify moral education of their girl child, because when we look at the rate, many of them comes from home where the mothers doesn't take time to instill morality to the girl. Mothers need to spend time with their girls so as to limit the rate. Daniel Ikomi writing from Boya. Greetings, Mr. Liu. The panelists, the minister's decision is a proof that we are in the end time. One is a school, a maternity. What the whites do is not a yardstick to be copied. Pregnant girls should be sent out of school. Mr. Liu, we need an overhaul of the mentality. Watch out, the end time is near. Akambiom is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening to you, Akambiom. Good evening to you all in the studio, Mr. Liu. Your topic for the day is good, but I think the minister should be thinking of how to reduce the price of basic commodities, which is hanging right on our necks now. Sebastian Tanto is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening in the studio. I think the minister's decision is an encouragement to more pregnancy rate in school, but rather I think this decision should only be applicable to evening schools, because we believe strongly that an evening school is for married women and those working class. I think, Mr. Liu, that any pregnant student should be expelled and excommunicated from the school. This is Jam writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. Please, Mr. Liu, give Dr. Ako a handshake for me for that powerful word in favor of teachers, because Cameroon law is usually more effective only to teachers. Ferdinand is writing from Yaoundé. So you are encouraging. Okay. Now we have 30 more minutes to go. We may just say one word on the second topic.
Maybe I react to Minister's topic before.
Okay.
Okay. I think that I listened to my friend Ndifor, who spoke very well on about the issue. I think that, Mr. Liu, some of us are getting something wrong here. Nobody is against female education. It's not as though it is Minister Nalovia, who is a woman, who is coming to encourage women education. And when I talked about evening schools are generally designed, so the objective of evening schools, Mr. Liu, is to meet up with persons who already have other occupations. other occupations could either mean that some of them are already married. They need to take care of the children who go to school when the children come back before they go to school. Or persons who are already working who need to leave their workplaces before they go to school. Or persons who are pregnant, like women. And at the end of the day, Mr. Liu, when you look at the level of ordinary level, for instance, the evening schools who have 3 programs, they have what they call O-Level 1 for persons who either have first school or left first school, O-Level 2 and O-Level 3. So I think that the minister's decision, like I said, and I'm coming back to it, that it's a good decision. It's a very good decision. And before now, we had never had an issue with female education in Cameroon. No. We rather have a problem with ladies who were not conscious of, because even the Bible says you cannot serve 2 masters at a time. Okay? A lady who is a student, who wants to go to school, knows that education is her major objective. How did you even how does pregnancy even come inside the game? We should not even be talking about
because
pregnancy.
You were disturbing.
Because you were disturbing.
No,
because
you the man.
no,
yes.
no, Mr.
You are the
Liu.
man who
No, Mr. Liu. No,
talks
yeah,
into.
Yeah, I'm the man
into.
who, but now, if I am not a student, because the minister's decision is clear, which I'm applauding her for that you, the student, should be sanctioned, you, the teacher, should be sanctioned. That's where Minister Nalova stands out very clear, which is very good. But now, the girl child should have known that my parents sent me to school to study and not to date men. Because, Mr. Liu, there is one thing an elder brother once told me. He told me that a child who drinks water and a child who drinks milk, all those children end up growing. Which means that a child who is conscious, education is the first. Pregnancy and other things can come later.
Accidents happen.
When the accident don't happen, how do we amend it? There are ways to amend the accident. This child could have been in Form 5. Because even at the level of the GC, we should be able to say that the GC board says that once a student has registered for an exam, that student must write the exam. That child can be suspended, but the child cannot be dismissed. But a child in Form 4 who gets pregnant, let the child go stay home. The child can be reading a note. And of course, pregnancy is just 9 months. And that 9 months, the child comes back in Form 5 to write his exam.
You've made your point. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. The law encourages pregnancies among students. Lista Montana is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The minister's decision is good. It will go, is going to make the girl child to be conscious of who they are, and as such, they will protect themselves. On the other hand, Mr. Liu, it will make school look like maternity home. Mr. Liu, I'm afraid most of these children are adolescents and they love to test things out. Permitting pregnancy, it might cause the spread of sexually transmitted diseases, and our country will suffer the consequences thereafter. Finally, Mr. Liu, the minister's point on teachers is correct, but wrong with higher education, since these girls, they know their left from right. Typhoid Simon writing from Buddha. Mr. Liu, pregnant students should be sent out of school with the boy or teacher who impregnated her. Violet is writing from Boya. Good evening to you. Violet, good evening, Mr. Liu. Pregnant students should not be allowed in school because school is not maternity. This is Derek writing from Yaoundé. Greetings, Mr. Liu. I think the best thing to do is to suspend the girl child even though she is pregnant. Also, let the government put and respect the laws that every pregnant girl should be sent out from school even though she has paid her school fees, and thank God also that school fees are not refundable nowadays. Let the government bound the laws of let pregnant ladies go to study at the evening school. Okay, good evening, Mr. Leonard and the panelists. I think when pregnant, some women still go about their daily activity, hitch-free, and some can do virtually nothing. What I mean here is that if a girl child gets pregnant and still feels that she is fit to continue, she should continue. So this whole thing depends on the girl in question. Shukwi Ernest, writing from Chang. Now, one word on our second topic, which has to do with bar owners all of these guys, snack bars and the like, they wrote to the Minister of Commerce asking him to permit them to increase beer prices. Was that a wise move?
You know, of recent in Cameroon, we have been saying that no strike, no better working conditions. No strike, no improvement of their old position. And I believe the syndicate of bar, or what we call them liquor dealers, comes at the time they wanted to instigate the government to see what the government is going to do. And that there have been no unilateral decision fixing prices in Cameroon. That one is certain, that to fix the prices of basic commodity or whatsoever. Remember, we were equally told that beer is a common commodity, that Cameroonians need beer than any other thing. So if we have to get to fix the price of rice, it was not by the syndicate of those who are selling rice. If we are going to fix the price of fish, it was not by Conjecam and its group of those who are selling that fix the price. It is a common consensus between workers and the service of the state that define the prices, looking at certain categories of expenditures involved. And the government equally coming out to state clearly that there have been nothing noticed with the producers, meaning it is not Kaji, it is not Brazil to come in, it's not Guinness complaining. These are vendors of beer. So what cost do they incur in buying the beer? They would have been proper if the prices of a crate of beer has changed from Brazaris and Guinness. It is but normal that the increase should follow in that trend. But if nothing has happened with the raw materials and the producer, how does the seller or the retailer claim that there is a need for an increment? It is a bit worrying that Cameroonians want to think that since presently the country is suffering from a hyperinflationary situation, they too should profit. Because the only domain that has not been touched is the domain of beer. So they are thinking that adding the prices of beer will add to the level and maybe take the inflationary level to be national now. The government too knows very wisely that increasing the prices of beer in Cameroon might create a second world war, a third world war, because Cameroonians are used to beer than even food. So increasing the price of the other commodities have not created an impact. But if we temper now to increase the price of beer, I will tell you that we find we are going to get the discussion in every corner of Cameroon. And these are the sum of circumstances that may equally be telling the government that the red line will be the prices of beer. And the response government has answered. I've not seen the government of Cameroon respond in an affirmative position like it did with this particular act. Concerning rice, concerning oil, concerning the kilogram of meat, government has added the prices and government did not quarrel. So now for beer, they are saying that we cannot add the price of beer and nobody has the mandate to do so. So you can equally think that government is trying maybe to prevent or to use the principle prevention is better than cure. Then we can affect other domains but not beer. If something doesn't touch beer in Cameroon, Cameroonians will be fine. And then they can go ahead to molest the whole economy.
Okay, Nadieh, I don't know whether you've seen they proposed the nightclubs and snack bar. According to their proposal, they wanted a beer to sell at 1,500 francs, a bottle of juice 1,000 francs, and water 500 francs. For cabarets, they are proposing to the minister to sell at 2,000 francs juice, 1,000 francs water, 500 francs, bar climatisé, beer 1,000, juice 700 francs, and water 500 francs buvette. They want beer to be sold at 900 francs CFA, and the normal bars that we have around, they want beer to be sold at 800 francs. We are not talking about a 50 francs increase or 100 francs. Beer that is sold at 650, they want it sold at 800 francs, and then yes, 800 francs, and then juice that is sold at 400, they want it sold at 600.
Yeah, Mr. Kum, you know, it's very funny we're having a country that everybody profits from, you know, small things that are happening, because, you know, recently we have had an increase in the prices of basic commodities like rice, or everything has increased, you know, because they said, okay, the war in Ukraine has affected Cameroon. Everybody is saying, okay, the prices of importation has increased, you know, the fried maritime costs have increased. But, you know, the production of brewery is being, you know, it's gotten from corn. And I believe believe that Cameroon produces corn, okay? These are the raw materials we use to produce our beer. Now, looking at, you know, the attitudes of our beer vendors trying to increase prices, trying to profit from the inflation that has been globalized worldwide, it's just like a clear evidence to show that, you know, Cameroonians are, you know, are people who profit from things. You know, looking at, you know, the decision of the Minister of Commerce refusing to increase these prices, to me, I think that they're trying to encourage Cameroonians to, you know, to go to sleep, because Cameroonians are into alcoholism in a kind of way that it keeps our spirit to be adamant. You know, Cameroonians love drinking. Once you give a Cameroonian a bottle of beer, he forgets all his problems. He forgets all the issues. You know, that's the aching issue about this thing. Because, you know, the prices of basic commodities like rice have increased. And it is this same minister that increased the prices. Meanwhile, food is something that is very important. And they say a hungry man is an angry man. But the Cameroonian government doesn't care about the angry state of the Cameroonians. They have seen it that Cameroonians are into alcoholism. And they will use this alcoholism to keep our spirit adamant, so that we will not be able to advocate for the important issues that are happening in Cameroon. And besides, you know, they don't want to increase the prices of beer still, because, you know, the brewery company is from France. You know, France owns, you know, brasseries. They don't want any trouble with brasseries. They don't want any problem. They want brasseries products to sell in Cameroon, because we are having a convention with France. So I think that the Cameroon government is it's a government that manipulates people. Because for me, I would have increased the prices of beer. Okay, because if they increase the prices, but Cameroonians will still tell you, increase the price of beer to 2,000, we are going to drink.
Yeah, but how do you move from 650 to 800? You are not requesting for a 25 francs increase of 50 francs. Is this not a clear means of wanting to exploit Cameroonians? Well,
you know, Mr. Kum, Cameroonians have been exploiting themselves a long time ago. Okay, why is it that we are crying about the prices of you know, the increase, the 100, 200 price increase of beer? But you know, the prices of cement increased from 5,000 to 7,500. 2,500 has increased. Yeah, the price of oil increased from 1,200 to 1,500, 1,300. So it's an increase of 300. Why is nobody seeing this? We are seeing only on beer. Because Cameroonians love drinking, and the Cameroon government has seen that if we increase the prices of beer, Cameroonians will not drink, and also they are not going to keep their spirit adamant. So I think that, you know, it's just a clear evidence to show that Cameroon government always want to keep the Cameroonian spirit adamant.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Why should bar owners be demanding for an increase in price of beer when they all know beer is another source of income to the economy? Rémi is writing from, asking this question from Bamenda. Est-ce qu'on peut comprendre ce qui veut s'opérer là par ceux qui vendent la bière? Ça ne vient pas, it's not coming from brasseries, hein? The guys who are selling, yes.
The retailers.
Non, le Cameroun est devenu tel que c'est tout le monde qui fait sa loi. C'est tout le monde qui dit ce qu'il veut. Moi, j'applaudis notre ministre du Commerce, qui continue à nous laisser dans l'aliénation, parce que si on augmente le prix de bière, le Camerounais pourra réfléchir, il pourra rentrer chez lui à temps, parce que le Camerounais, malgré tout, est conscient. Il verra que dépenser 1 000 francs pour acheter une bière, je peux compléter 2 000 francs, je peux compléter sur la ration de mon épouse. Il rentrera chez lui à temps, il n'y aura plus des influenceuses, il n'y aura plus des à côté, et ça, le gouvernement n'a pas besoin de ça. Il faut que le Camerounais continue à boire, à saouler, à se rouler par terre, à se dire, bon, si aujourd'hui j'ai pu avoir une bière, demain je peux bien avoir 2, ainsi de suite, et c'est comme ça que nous irons vers l'annihilation. Et vraiment, il faut s'attendre à ça. L'autre plaisir aurait été qu'on dise que la bière augmente à 2 000 francs. Pour le plaisir de la ménagère, qu'on dise que maintenant la boîte de riz est à 100 francs. Ça nous aurait fait plaisir. Beaucoup. Ça aurait créé l'équilibre. Ça aurait fait en sorte que, même si le commerçant, le ministre sera entendu, parce que le Camerounais boit, il boira et il va toujours boire, que la bière soit même à 5 000, il va l'acheter. Maintenant, qu'on dise à ces barman qui veulent que la bière augmente, ok, la bière quitte de 650 à 1000 francs. Donc ça veut dire que même ces barman-là nous prennent pour des idiots. Parce que quand tu augmentes quelque chose, c'est d'abord peut-être 100 francs, après ça monte à 500, ainsi de suite. Mais plus 650, plus 350 sur une bière. Ok, l'État ne doit pas être contre, mais dire au barman, bon ok, si on ajoute 350, donne-moi au moins 200. Tu restes avec 150. Les 200 là, j'injecte ça sur moi pour le ciment. Bon, passons. C'est pas tout le monde qui construit, mais c'est tout le monde qui a besoin d'une boîte de riz pour manger chez lui. C'est tout le monde qui a besoin du piment, du sel, de l'huile. C'est-à-dire que les denrées, c'est-à-dire même pour faire un riz sauté simple, donc ça veut dire le riz avec l'huile rouge. C'est tout le monde qui a besoin de ça. Ça, le ministre n'a rien dit. Maintenant, pour la bière, ça intéresse qui? Ça n'intéresse personne. Maintenant, même ces barman qui ont ce courage vraiment de crier, sont-ils aussi les Camerounais? Mes frères, vous êtes aussi des Camerounais. Donc vous pensez qu'en augmentant la bière 1000 francs, vous allez mieux vivre que ceux qui travaillent, qui vont au travail tous les matins et qui rentrent et qui ne perçoivent pas leur salaire? Vous croyez que les enseignants qui sont en train de se plaindre qu'on ne leur paye pas viendront encore dans vos bars boire cette bière? Mais n'exagérons pas. Nous, on l'a appris au quartier, on croyait que c'était une histoire, que c'est le ministre qui augmentait la bière. Nous ne savions pas que c'est mon voisin qui me vend la bière, qui est parti parce qu'il sait que je peux boire 3 bières par jour, qui se dit, je peux dépenser 3000 par jour. Il a pensé à mes enfants. Donc vraiment, on ne sait pas si ce qui se passe au Cameroun. À la limite, moi je me rappelle quand je regardais l'histoire de l'apartheid en Afrique du Sud où on disait tout le temps, Dieu nous a abandonnés. Avec tout ce qui se passe maintenant, tout le monde qui veut tirer la corde de son côté, tout le monde qui cherche seulement l'avantage de son côté, on a l'impression que Dieu nous a abandonnés vraiment.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I wish to make the following contributions. One, the minister's letter is not intended to encourage immorality in secondary schools. Rather, she is saying that girl children should be careful and not get pregnant. Two, most young secondary school children get pregnant due to rape. Keeping them away from school will be punishing them double and traumatizing them the more. Education is a right even to the girl child. The minister is correct to say that when the girl goes home after 26 weeks of pregnancy, the boy, if a student, should also go home. This is intended to caution both male and female students. Remember that abortion is illegal and immoral. It is better for the girl child to stay in school with a pregnancy than abort the baby in order to continue school. Pregnancy is not an illness, like one of the panelists said. The minister is just being the mother that she is. School administrators should give these unfortunate school children the opportunity to make amends and make a bright future. Let them stay in school until when they think they cannot continue. Etonde Mekongi, writing from Great Support in Boya. I will use this opportunity to greet the Southwest Regional Delegate of Secondary Education, Dr. Mboahana Tonde, who is always watching us every evening. How do we understand that at a time where Cameroonians can barely survive with increase in almost every basic commodity, bar owners think that this is the time for them to make so much gain?
Mr. Leo, the truth is, when I listened to the prices that you read, truth be told, before now, alcohol has been sold at those prices. That's the truth. There are places where you go to clubs in Douala, even here in Bonamusa.
Yeah, but not for normal bars. How do you want to start selling beer at the price of 800 and juice for 600 francs?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, the truth is, when I read through it, and I've listened to Akwen and Dr. Akwa, as well as Madame, the French lady, The impression is it's just a distraction. It's a distraction because Cameroonians have more pending issues. More pending issues because I was taken aback today when I went to a normal cafeteria. I've been taking breakfast and I was told a cup of tea now, it's now 200. That's what the lady told me this morning. I was like, what's happening? She told me, je suis allé au marché hier.
That there's war in Ukraine.
Yeah, no. She told me, le lait que j'ai acheté à 29 000 maintenant, c'est 31. Oui. C'est ce qu'elle m'a dit ce matin. Now, beer is, I'm some of you who consume it, and I think that it's just a distraction. Beer is leisure.
That's it.
It is something that if I sit on a Sunday and I want to relax, I may say, hey, Dr. Ako, are you free today? Are you not in class? Come, let's. It's relaxation. Children need food. Now, the prices of food has increased and the minister doesn't feel concerned. It's not beer. That thing is nothing. We should not even be talking about whether they sell beer for 10,000, they should even sell it for 50,000.
That's it.
They should sell it for 100,000. I'm okay with the price. But what I think that we should be focused on, Mr. Liu, is the fact that you go and you want to take a cup of tea and they tell you a cup of tea is 200 francs. That you want to get a plate of rice and the lady tells you she puts rice that even my small son cannot even eat for 500 francs. And you now, everything in Cameroon, Mr. Liu, do you know that even the local sha, that a liter used to be sold for 200 francs at the level of Douala, now it's 250. They tell you corn don't add. They don't add price for corn. Then when the common ride for Bamenda, before all that transport will come meter, a bottle of Sha now is 250 francs. Minister of Trade, Luke Marguambanga things, sings the common man. Because we are looking at the common man. They think that the Sha they drink for 200 francs. It's more important to them, not beer. The thing that the palm wine that they get for 150 francs that has gone to 200 francs is what they are more focused on. The taxi driver who has increased the price of fare because he thinks that fuel has increased is what Cameroonians are more concerned with, not this bottle of beer. So I feel that, Mr. Leo, Cameroon has more pressing issues. More pressing issues that if at times we want to dedicate and want to talk about that beer has increased. Before now, like I said, there are places, even here in Bonamosade, where a bottle of small water, there they sell only small drinks, daily bread. It's 1,000 francs. So I think that...
you go to Sans Papier, it's 1,500.
Thank you very much. Without publicity. Without publicity for the Sans Papier. Okay. So, yeah, so I think that, Mr. Leo, the minister, like Dr. Ako puts it, it is for once that we see a pragmatic minister, because many a time wants decision. Yeah, because he's pragmatic. We are shocked that bar owner spoke yesterday and he speaks today. We are very shocked. Okay, yes, that's what I'm saying. He's very pragmatic, proactive. You don't. It's not like what teachers will say they'll go on strike and it takes 2 months because I have not been paid, and it takes 2 months before the minister reacts. And even when he reacts, the same teachers under OTS say that the people whom you held meetings, we don't know them. And at that same time, the Minister of Territorial Administration is saying that anybody who strikes should be arrested. As he is saying that, the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Ewane, is rather saying, I am willing to hold a meeting with these teachers in the days ahead. Who is doing what in our country, Cameroon? So I feel that beer is nothing. Let them sell it for 1 hour. I would have supported them. If I had the opportunity to support them, I would have told them, tea has increased, increase your beer. Rice has increased, they should increase, because beer is not food. Yes. It's leisure. When we sit to drink beer, in fact, beer causes more problem, because once you drink it, it causes you to create more problem, whereas food gives you energy to talk, food gives you energy to work.
Okay, Ndifor, Richard, are you very satisfied and also taken aback at the promptness with which the government reacted to the plea from bar owners to increase beer prices?
Well, Leonard, I'm not surprised, and I would say that what I'm rather surprised about is that we are here talking about beer prices when Cameroonians are almost suffocating under the weight of prices of basic commodities. Just like my friend in the studio mentioned about the fact that beer prices can even go up to 100,000 in many countries. there is a minimum price for alcoholic drinks. They set a bar, they set a minimum price. And the reason for this is because they want to discourage the consumption of this alcohol, of this alcoholic drinks. Because the consumption of this drink leads to many other ills in the society. It leads to many other problems. A lot of road accidents caused by the consumption of alcohol. I believe that when the prices of alcohol goes up, that is going to minimize the consumption of these goods. We should be talking about these basic commodities that is hitting the ceiling every other day, and people are virtually suffocating under this kind of situation. That means the minister reacted so abruptly to this is telling to the fact that they do not want it, because they have seen that as a soft spot of Cameroonians. They know that Cameroonians are so passionately and sentimentally attached to it. So they want a situation where they will not hurt the feet of Cameroonians and then create a situation of like somebody mentioned earlier.
Okay.
So that is why I'm very careful not to talk on that. But like I said, I believe that if there was a need to increase prices by maybe increased taxes, more taxes should be added on alcoholic drinks than on basic foodstuff and basic other basic needs that Cameroonians need.
Okay, thank you, Ndifor. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Yanet Noel, watching from Bonaberry. Beer is just something we take out of leisure and not a necessity. So I think an increase in the price of beer won't cause any negative effect in our economy. We have come to the end of today's edition of the program. Thank you, Dr. Ako, for coming.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. I want to concur. You know, we are towards the end, but sincerely, Cameroonians are suffering. Cameroonians are suffering at the high rate of prices in the market. We still believe that the Minister of Trade and Commerce can do something better. We are dying, women are dying. 10,000 francs cannot fetch a family meal again. We grew up in 1990, 1988, when a 5,000 francs could give off a meal for 1 week. Today, we don't know what has happened to the Green Revolution that was launched in 1972. It is shocking. The state needs to stand by the side of the Cameroonian people. Cameroon is bleeding.
Thank you for coming. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kum. I just wanted to comment in the proactive manner in which the Cameroon government responded to this note, because, you know, this clearly shows that the Cameroon government is a government that responds rapidly to things that does not help Cameroonians. Because when we heard about OTS, they took a long period to respond. When we talk about, you know, prices of basic commodities, they didn't respond. But when it comes to alcohol, because they know that Cameroonians have found solace in, you know, in alcoholism, so they respond rapidly. This shows that we have a government that responds rapidly to things that does not edify Cameroonians.
Okay, thank you for coming, Prince Joel.
Thank you immensely, Ms. Alio. I think that in line with what Dr. Ako said, Cameroon is extremely, we're suffering because I want to remember, Ms. Alio, for those of us who grew up in Mile 16, we want to remember that you could have just 100 francs and buy what we call 730, 7 pop-off beans for 30 francs, and even
Mami Are.
Mami Are, Mr. Alio, thank you. With 100 francs you ate, and with 100 francs you could have 6 blockade, heavy blockade, and chocolate for 25 francs. Today it's not the same case, and even in those days, Mr. Alio, the arrow that you bought, the bowls of fufu was 25 francs. You could take 4 and just your arrow for 50 francs, 150 francs could keep you going, but it's a contrary today.
Okay.
That we have to come and say that the minister is reacting to beer. I think that to an extent it doesn't sell us well. Thank you immensely for having me, Ms. Alio. I'll seize this opportunity to say a special good evening to the peace-loving people of Mr. J subdivision, whom I will be joining before the 30th of this month.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu. I have been a silent listener of this program, but today I have to break the silence to congratulate Dr. Ako for his frank talk. This is Shea Terrence in Birmingham, I'm sure, because Dr. Ako says they cannot be producing for others to consume. Good evening to you in the studio. It is just a vicious cycle. if the prices of basic commodities are increasing and nothing is being done. So bar owners also have the right to say prices for beer has to be increased. And then the civil servants will also demand an increase in salaries. Alfred is Tamo for writing from Boya. Merci aussi d'être passé par ici.
Merci, c'est moi qui te remercie. Merci d'avoir partagé un plateau avec les anglophones. J'en suis fière. Mon anglais va s'améliorer au fur et à mesure. Je ne sais pas, hein, c'est une manière de parler, mais on a l'impression que le gouvernement se joue de nous, il nous pond des distractions, parce que moi je trouve ce bout de papier comme une sorte de distraction, pendant que dans le Noun, on marche pour la vie chère, pendant que partout au Cameroun, on se plaint de la vie chère pour les denrées de tous les jours, pour des denrées alimentaires. Aujourd'hui, on nous porte une décision qui est prise en une heure, en une journée, pour une première fois qu'un ministre réagisse comme ça. On sent une distraction.
Okay.
Et le Camerounais n'accepte plus de distraction.
Okay.
S'il vous plaît, cherchez à rabaisser le riz, l'huile, le sel, le piment. Là maintenant, nous saurons que ce gouvernement, ces ministres sont en train de travailler.
Okay. Prices of beer should be increased in order to control our addiction to drinking, which is out of control. Mr. Atta is writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I love your program. I suggest that the prices of beer should be reduced to 300 francs. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please advise the government not to try with the price of beer and fuel. If not, there will be Second World War in the country. From Mr. Anthony in Melen in Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. What's the government actually saying? The government is looking at the incident of the female student getting pregnant and leaving them to stay back to continue education. Now, my question goes, what about the other students who are not pregnant? How would they feel? And how would the school administration feel? Because it will all indicate that the school is encouraging such acts occurring in school. Okay? Good evening in the studio. I'm Jackie Michael from Edinau. If they like, let them increase it to 1,000 francs, no problem. But my cry is that let them also increase the salaries too. It will be better to create new educational institutions and train special teachers to handle pregnant learners. Otherwise, workshops and seminars should be put in place to ensure that teachers catch up with this decision. This one says, I thank Mr. Ako for the clarifications, and I also thank everyone in the studio for the lessons. We want to thank you, Ndifor Richard, for participating today.
Much, Leonard. Thanks for having me. And just to conclude by saying that I'll be emphasizing this issue of allowing girl children in school, and to say that as Cameroonians, we should, even as Africans generally, we should stop this idea of claiming that we are the champions of morality, because we have all these negative things, this dishonesty, corruption, all other things around, and we cannot speak it. We are very, very thick at talking about how the West is promoting immorality, but we have so many things in front of us in our face, and we cannot address them. We have corruption and the rest. So I think that this is a wake-up call. We should use the same energy to condemn the different other ills that are in our society, and not only look at pregnant girls in school.
Okay, we want to thank the production team and all of you who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.